First contact. The massive starship of the Dominary loomed over the human vessel like a whale beside a minnow. Captain Maya Chen stood at the viewport of the UES Pathfinder, taking in the sheer scale of their first contact with an advanced alien civilization. The Dominary ship stretched nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern, its gleaming hull decorated with what appeared to be artistic renderings of their homeworld's towering forests. "Quite the first impression they're making," remarked Commander Jackson, the Pathfinder's XO, as he joined her at the viewport. "Size isn't everything," Maya replied with a slight smile. "But I won't deny it's intimidating." The human diplomatic mission had been preparing for this moment for years. The Dominary had been observed from a distance by automated probes, revealing a technologically advanced species that evolved on a low-gravity world. The preliminary data suggested they stood, on average, between 10 and 12 meters tall, giants by human standards. "Final approach to docking procedures," announced Lieutenant Peddle from the helm. "Dominary Control is providing guidance telemetry." Maya nodded. "Take us in, Lieutenant. Nice and easy." As the Pathfinder glided toward the enormous docking bay, Maya felt a flutter of anxiety in her stomach. Humanity's future might well depend on the impression they made in the coming days. The expansion of Earth's colonies had inevitably brought them into the sphere of influence claimed by the Dominary Consortium, a loose federation of systems under the giant's protection. The diplomatic team assembled in the airlock. Maya, Commander Jackson, Dr. Eliza Wong, xenobiologist, Dr. Hassan Al-Faiz, cultural specialist, and Lieutenant Kowalski, security. They'd spent months studying what little was known about Dominary physiology, society, and customs. "Remember," Maya told her team as the airlock cycled, "we represent not just Earth but all of humanity. Let's show them what we're made of." The airlock doors parted to reveal a cavernous docking bay. 3 Dominaries stood waiting, towering figures with slender, elongated limbs and faintly luminescent green skin. Their faces had a vaguely humanoid structure, but with larger eyes set wider apart and no visible nose, just 2 slight indentations above their small mouths. "They're even bigger than the simulations suggested," whispered Dr. Wong, her voice filled with scientific excitement rather than fear. The tallest of the Dominary stepped forward and lowered itself to one knee, bringing its head down to merely twice the height of the humans. When it spoke, its voice was surprisingly melodic, though the universal translator rendered it in a neutral tone. "Welcome, tiny visitors from Earth. I am High Counselor Thaxon of the Dominary Consortium. We are delighted to meet such cute creatures." Maya fought to keep her expression neutral. "Cute." She stepped forward, maintaining perfect diplomatic composure. "High Counselor Thaxon, I am Captain Maya Chen of the United Earth Alliance. On behalf of humanity, we extend friendship and look forward to building relations between our peoples." The Dominary officials exchanged glances, and Maya caught what seemed like suppressed amusement in their expressions. The universal translator picked up fragments of their quiet exchange. "So tiny. Like talking toys. Adorable how formal they are." Dr. Al-Faiz stepped closer to Maya. "They're not being intentionally disrespectful," he whispered. "Their society values size. They're processing us through their cultural lens." Maya gave a subtle nod and addressed the aliens again. "We've come prepared to learn about your culture and share our own. Humanity is eager to establish peaceful cooperation with the Dominary." Thaxon made a gesture that the translator interpreted as polite acknowledgement. "Of course, little ones, we shall take special care with your fragile forms. Please, follow us to your accommodations. We've prepared a space suitable for beings of your diminutive stature." As they followed the massive aliens through corridors designed for beings 3 times their height, Maya observed everything with keen attention. The Dominary moved with surprising grace despite their size, a product of their evolution in lower gravity. Their technology seemed to favor organic forms and flowing designs, quite different from the more utilitarian human aesthetic. "I feel like a child at an adult's party," Commander Jackson muttered as they passed groups of Dominari who stopped to stare at the human delegation. Use it to our advantage, Maya replied quietly. They're underestimating us. That could work in our favor during negotiations. The quarters prepared for the humans were clearly designed as a display of Dominari hospitality, but revealed a fundamental misunderstanding of human needs. The ceiling soared 20 meters above them, and the furniture, while scaled down from Dominari standards, was still comically oversized. A single chair could seat the entire human delegation. How thoughtful, Maya commented diplomatically, though she noted every patronizing detail for her report. High Counselor Thaxton beamed down at them. We've done our research on your species. These accommodations should suit your tiny needs perfectly. Tomorrow, you shall be presented to the Grand Matriarch herself. This is a rare honor for a species so new to galactic affairs. After the Dominari left, the team gathered in their cavernous quarters to debrief. They see us as children, Dr. Alphys observed, running his hand through his beard. Or pets, perhaps. Either way, not equals. Lieutenant Kowalski snorted. Did you catch how they were talking about us? Cute creatures. I've never been called cute on a diplomatic mission before. It's not surprising, Dr. Wong said, setting up her portable lab equipment. From an evolutionary perspective, they developed in an environment that allowed for their enormous size. To them, our compact bodies must seem inefficient or underdeveloped. Maya paced the room, her mind working through the implications. What they don't understand is that our gravity shaped us differently. We're denser, stronger relative to our size. Earth's gravity forced our species to develop more efficient muscular systems and sturdier bones. Should we correct their misconceptions? Asked Commander Jackson. Maya shook her head. Not yet. Let's observe more first. Learn their social dynamics, their true power structures. Then we'll decide how to proceed. She paused, looking at each member of her team. They expect us to be impressed by their size, intimidated even. And yes, they are impressive. But humanity didn't come this far by being easily intimidated. Later that night, as the rest of the team slept in their oversized beds, Maya stood at the window, gazing out at the stars. The Dominari homeworld hung in the distance, a beautiful green-blue sphere. Tomorrow they would descend to that planet, with its significantly lower gravity than Earth. She'd studied the briefings extensively. Humans on the Dominari world would experience roughly 1/3 of Earth's gravitational pull. A smile played at the corners of her mouth. The Dominari had no idea what humans were capable of in reduced gravity. Let them think of humans as cute for now. Soon enough, they'd learn what it meant to underestimate the descendants of Earth. As she prepared for sleep, Maya reviewed the mission objectives once more. The Dominari controlled access to resources humanity needed, while humans possessed technological innovations the giants lacked. A partnership would benefit both species if she could get past their patronizing attitude and establish respect. Cute, she murmured to herself with a small smile. We'll see how long that perception lasts. Mounting tensions, the descent to the Dominari homeworld, Faxoria, was a breathtaking experience. As the shuttle pierced through wisps of lavender clouds, Captain Maya Chen and her team pressed against the viewports, taking in the alien landscape. Colossal trees stretched skyward, their canopies forming a verdant sea that extended to the horizon. Scattered among them were the gleaming spires of Dominari architecture, structures that seemed to grow organically from the forest floor rather than being built upon it. It's beautiful, breathed Dr. Wong. Those trees must be at least a kilometer tall. Low gravity, Commander Jackson noted. Less pull fighting against vertical growth. Their biology took full advantage. Maya felt a subtle shift as the shuttle's gravity compensators adjusted, gradually reducing to match Thaxoria's natural pull. A pleasant lightness spread through her limbs, not the nauseating weightlessness of 0G, but a gentle buoyancy that made her feel like she could leap over buildings. Remember your training, she cautioned her team. Move deliberately. No sudden gestures. We don't want to accidentally launch ourselves across the room during negotiations. The landing platform extended from a massive structure that resembled a fusion between a tree and a cathedral. As they disembarked, they were greeted by a delegation led by High Counselor Thaxon and several new Dominaria officials. Behind them stood what appeared to be an honor guard, each soldier bearing ceremonial weapons that gleamed in Thaxoria's golden sunlight. "Welcome to our humble world, little humans," Thaxon announced, extending a hand that could easily envelop Maya's entire upper body. "I trust your journey was comfortable." "Very much so, High Counselor," Maya replied diplomatically. "Your world is breathtaking." A new Dominary stepped forward, its posture radiating authority. Unlike the others, this one's skin bore intricate patterns that seemed to shimmer with bioluminescence. "I am Supreme Commander Craxus, head of the Dominary Defense Force. I will be overseeing security during your stay." Maya didn't miss the subtle tension that appeared in Thaxon's posture at Craxus' introduction. Interesting. Political friction among the Dominary leadership. She filed the observation away for later analysis. "A pleasure, Supreme Commander," Maya responded. "This is Lieutenant Kowalski, head of our security detail." Craxus peered down at Kowalski with what the Universal Translator identified as amusement. "Such a tiny guardian. How charming." Kowalski maintained perfect professionalism, though Maya could see the muscle twitching in her jaw. "Size isn't everything, Supreme Commander." "Isn't it?" Craxus replied, gesturing expansively at the massive structures around them. "Our history would suggest otherwise." Before the exchange could grow more tense, Thaxon intervened. "The Grand Matriarch awaits. Shall we proceed?" As they followed their enormous hosts through corridors designed for beings 3 times their height, Maya noticed members of her team instinctively testing their strength in the reduced gravity. Commander Jackson discreetly lifted himself onto a decorative ledge with just his fingertips, something that would have required significant exertion on Earth. Dr. Wong merely stumbled when a normal step sent her half a meter higher than expected. Maya caught their eyes and gave a subtle shake of her head. "Not yet. Let the Dominary continue to underestimate them." The audience chamber of the Grand Matriarch was a marvel of alien architecture. The ceiling soared hundreds of meters overhead, with sunlight filtering through crystalline structures to create dancing patterns on the polished floor. At the center, on an elevated platform, sat the most impressive Dominary they had yet encountered. The Grand Matriarch Sahara was nearly 15 meters tall, even while seated, her skin patterns more elaborate than any other Dominary present. Her voice, when she spoke, carried an authority that needed no translation. "So these are the humans who have ventured to our borders," she declared, leaning forward to examine them. "How remarkably small you are. Yet your species has managed to achieve faster than light travel. Curious." Maya stepped forward and performed the greeting ritual they had been advised to use. A deep bow with arms extended outward. "Grand Matriarch, we are honored by your reception. Humanity comes seeking friendship and mutual cooperation." Sahara made a sound that the translator hesitated to interpret before settling on amused indulgence. Bold words from such a diminutive species. "Tell me, Captain Chen, what could your people possibly offer the Dominary Consortium that we do not already possess?" Maya had prepared extensively for this question. "Innovation, Your Eminence. Humanity has developed technologies that evolve from our unique challenges. Our miniaturized propulsion systems exceed Dominary efficiency standards by 27%. Our medical nanobiology has extended our lifespans by decades in a single generation, and our adaptive agriculture techniques could increase Thaxuria's food production without expanding your current farming footprint." Supreme Commander Craxus scoffed audibly. "Toys and trinkets. The Dominary have dominated this sector for millennia, not through clever gadgets, but through strength and presence." "With respect, Supreme Commander," Maya countered smoothly, "strength takes many forms." Craxus's eyes narrowed. "Does it? Perhaps you would care to witness a demonstration of true Dominary might. We have prepared a military exhibition for tomorrow's cycle, a traditional welcome for potential allies. The way he emphasized potential made it clear what he thought of human prospects. We would be honored, Maya replied, maintaining her diplomatic composure even as she recognized the implied threat. After the audience concluded, the human delegation was escorted to a viewing platform for what was described as a cultural tour of the capital city. As they observed the magnificent Dominary achievements, Maya pulled Dr. Alphaeus aside. "What's your read on the power dynamics?" she asked quietly. The cultural specialist stroked his beard thoughtfully. Tension between civil and military leadership. Faxon represents a progressive faction that sees value in galactic cooperation. Craxus exemplifies traditional Dominary superiority beliefs. The Grand Matriarch appears to be weighing both perspectives. And our position? Precarious, Alphaeus admitted. We're a test case. If cooperation with humans proves beneficial, Faxon's faction gains influence. If we appear weak or inconsequential, then Craxus's hardliners justify isolationism or worse. Maya finished. Their conversation was interrupted by a thunderous sound. In the distance, enormous Dominary vehicles moved through a clearing in the forest, massive war machines that dwarfed even their creators. "Impressive, are they not?" said a new voice. Maya turned to find a Dominary she hadn't met before, this one slightly smaller than the others, but with elaborate markings around its eyes. "I am Professor Lyrax," the alien introduced itself, chief scientist of the Dominary Technology Council, and if you'll permit me, somewhat of an enthusiast regarding other species. "A xenobiologist?" Dr. Wong asked, immediately interested. "Among other disciplines," Lyrax confirmed. "May I observe that you humans move rather cautiously on our world? Are you experiencing discomfort in our atmosphere?" Maya exchanged glances with Dr. Wong. "Not discomfort, Professor. We're simply adapting to your gravity. It's significantly lower than what we're accustomed to on Earth." "Fascinating." Lyrax's eyes widened. "You evolved in a higher gravitational field. That would explain your compact musculature. Have you experienced any increased physical capability since arriving?" Before Maya could decide how much to reveal, Supreme Commander Craxus approached, towering over Professor Lyrax. "The humans don't need scientific analysis, Professor. They need to understand their place in the galactic order," Craxus stated firmly. "Tomorrow's exhibition will make that abundantly clear." After Craxus departed, Lyrax lowered his voice. "Forgive the Supreme Commander. Not all Dominary share his perspective on interspecies relations." "Do you have a different view, Professor?" Maya inquired carefully. "Let us say that I believe strength manifests in many forms, Captain Chen. Some less obvious than others." With that cryptic statement, Lyrax excused himself. That evening, in their oversized quarters, the human team debriefed. "They're intentionally trying to intimidate us," Lieutenant Kowalski asserted. "That exhibition tomorrow is going to be a show of force." "I agree," said Commander Jackson. "But they're also revealing their weaknesses. Did you see how they move? Strong, but slow. Their reaction time is nothing compared to ours." Dr. Wong nodded enthusiastically. "Their nervous system is elongated to accommodate their size. Signal transmission would take significantly longer than in our compact bodies." "What are you suggesting?" Maya asked, though she already had an inkling of where this was heading. "I'm suggesting," Jackson replied with a grin, "that we've been tiptoeing around to avoid offending our hosts. Maybe it's time we showed the Dominary what humans can really do in 1/3 gravity." Maya considered this carefully. "We're diplomats, not circus performers. Our mission is to establish peaceful relations." "With respect, Captain," Dr. Alphaeus interjected, "the cultural briefings suggest that the Dominary respect strength above all else. In their society, demonstrations of physical prowess are not seen as provocative, but as honorable." "They're calling us cute," Kowalski added with a hint of irritation. "Hard to negotiate as equals when they see us as pets." Maya walked to the window, watching the distant lights of Dominary vehicles moving through the twilight forest. The fate of human expansion in this sector might well depend on the impression they made. Diplomacy wasn't just about words, it was about perception. All right, she decided. Tomorrow, we stop holding back. But we do it strategically, no showing off for its own sake. Everything we do must serve our diplomatic objectives. As night fell over Thaxoria, Maya reviewed the data on Dominary military capabilities. Their weapons were impressive. Massive energy cannons and gravitational manipulators that could tear apart starships. But almost everything they designed relied on their enormous scale and the unique properties of their low-gravity environment. She wondered how their technology would perform against adversaries who had evolved in a harsher gravitational crucible, whose bodies and minds had been shaped by Earth's unforgiving pull. The Dominary had never faced humanity before. They had no concept of what that meant. Tomorrow, they would begin to learn. Across the city, in a secluded chamber deep within the military headquarters, Supreme Commander Craxus met with several high-ranking officers. "These humans cannot be allowed to establish a foothold in our sector," he declared. "Their very presence threatens Dominary supremacy. The High Council seems interested in their technology offerings," one officer noted cautiously. Craxus dismissed this with a sweeping gesture. "Short-sighted thinking. Today it's mutually beneficial trade. Tomorrow, their colonies encroach on our worlds. I've studied their history. Humans are expansionists by nature. What do you propose, Supreme Commander?" Craxus's mouth formed what passed for a smile among the Dominary. "Tomorrow's exhibition will demonstrate not just our military might, but the fundamental weakness of these humans. They will leave Thaxoria understanding that the Dominary Consortium stands unchallenged in this quadrant." As the conspiracy took shape in hushed tones, neither the humans nor their Dominary plotters. The challenge. Dawn broke over Thaxoria's capital city, bathing the towering structures in golden light. Captain Maya Chen had been awake for hours, running through training exercises adapted for the low-gravity environment. Each movement required recalibration. A push-up that would have demanded significant effort on Earth now felt like pressing against a feather pillow. A jump that would have raised her half a meter now sent her soaring nearly to the ceiling. She landed with practiced precision as Commander Jackson entered the exercise area. "The team's ready," he reported. "Everyone's had time to acclimate to the gravity. Dr. Wong says we're experiencing approximately a threefold strength advantage compared to Earth normal conditions." Maya nodded, toweling off her face. "And the Dominary still have no idea. They've been watching us move carefully, deliberately slow. They think we're struggling to adapt." Jackson's mouth curved into a slight smile. "They're in for quite a surprise." An hour later, the human delegation was escorted to an enormous amphitheater carved into the side of a mountain. Thousands of Dominary had gathered to witness what was being called the integration ceremony, ostensibly a cultural exchange, but Maya understood its true purpose as a power demonstration. High Counselor Thaxon greeted them at the entrance, his towering form adorned in ceremonial garments that shimmered with embedded light sources. "Captain Chen, I hope you understand the importance of today's event," he said, lowering his voice. "The Grand Matriarch rarely attends military exhibitions, but Supreme Commander Craxus has convinced her that this demonstration is necessary." Maya detected concern in the High Counselor's tone. "Is there something we should be aware of, Counselor?" Thaxon hesitated, his enormous eyes darting to ensure they weren't overheard. "The Commander's faction believes that strength is the only language the galaxy truly respects. I fear today's exhibition is designed to impress upon you humanity's relative position in our understanding of the galactic hierarchy. To intimidate us," Maya translated bluntly. "I would never phrase it so directly," Thaxon replied with diplomatic caution. "But perhaps your understanding is not entirely misaligned with reality." As they were led to a viewing platform sized for beings 3 times their height, Maya caught sight of Professor Lurax speaking animatedly with Dr. Wong. The xenobiologist seemed genuinely interested in human anatomy, peppering Dr. Wong with questions about Earth's gravity and its evolutionary effects. The ceremony began with a procession of Dominery military units, each bearing weapons and armor that gleamed in the morning light. They moved with precision that belied their enormous size, performing maneuvers that display both discipline and raw power. Impressive, Commander Jackson admitted quietly to Maya. Their coordination at that scale requires extensive training. Supreme Commander Craxus strode to the center of the arena, his amplified voice booming across the gathering. Citizens of Thaxoria, today we welcome observers from a distant world, a species called humans. They have journeyed far to witness the glory of Dominery civilization and the unmatched might of our defense force. Maya maintained a neutral expression, even as she noted the subtle shift in framing, from diplomatic guests to mere observers. As is our tradition, Craxus continued, we shall demonstrate the technologies and capabilities that have maintained Dominery dominance for millennia. What followed was a carefully choreographed display of Dominery military technology. Massive vehicles rumbled into the arena, hovering tanks with cannons that could level mountains, mechs standing 30 meters tall piloted by single Dominery operators, and most impressively, a gravitational manipulator that lifted an entire section of the arena floor before setting it down with surprising gentleness. Throughout the demonstration, Maya noticed Craxus repeatedly glancing toward the human delegation, gauging their reactions. She ensured her team maintained expressions of polite interest rather than awe or intimidation. Now, Craxus announced, as dictated by our ancient traditions, we invite our guests to share their own martial capabilities, that we might honor each other through mutual respect of strength. Maya felt every Dominery eye in the amphitheater turned toward the human delegation. This was clearly an unexpected addition to the program, one designed to highlight the perceived weakness of humanity. An interesting cultural tradition, Maya remarked loudly enough for the translator to catch her words. On Earth, we have a saying, judge not by size, but by capability. She stepped forward, the low gravity making her movements fluid and graceful. We would be honored to participate in this exchange of capabilities. A murmur rippled through the Dominery spectators. Clearly, they hadn't expected the humans to accept what was essentially a challenge. Captain, Dr. Alphais whispered urgently, this appears to be a ritual combat invitation. I'm aware, Maya replied quietly. And declining would be perceived as weakness. She addressed Craxus directly. Supreme Commander, what form would you suggest this exchange take? Craxus seemed momentarily taken aback by her ready acceptance, but recovered quickly. A simple demonstration of physical capability would suffice. Perhaps you could show us the maximum weight a human can lift. We have prepared appropriate objects scaled to your diminutive size. The condescension in his tone was unmistakable. From the side of the arena, several Dominery assistants wheeled out what appeared to be weights, though by Dominery standards, they were little more than paperweights. Maya glanced at Commander Jackson, who gave an almost imperceptible nod. It was time to adjust the Dominery perception of humanity. Thank you for your consideration, Supreme Commander, Maya said with perfect diplomacy. However, I wonder if we might select our own challenge, to truly represent human capabilities. Craxus made a gesture that the translator interpreted as magnanimous permission. By all means, Captain. Select any object within the arena that you believe a human might manage to lift. Maya surveyed the arena thoughtfully, aware that this moment could define human-Dominery relations for generations. Her eyes settled on a small transport vehicle, what the Dominery would consider roughly equivalent to a jeep, though to humans it was the size of a small tank. That vehicle, she said, pointing. That should provide an adequate demonstration. A wave of what could only be described as amused disbelief swept through the Dominery audience. Even High Counselor Thaxon looked concerned, while Supreme Commander Craxus made no attempt to hide his mirth. Captain Chen, Craxus said, his voice carrying a patronizing tone. That is a standard infantry transport. It weighs approximately 2,000 of your Earth kilograms. Perhaps you misunderstand the nature of this demonstration. I understand perfectly, Supreme Commander, Maya replied calmly. Lieutenant Kowalski will demonstrate. The security officer stepped forward, removing her formal uniform jacket to reveal the standard-issue physical training attire underneath. Like all the humans, Kowalski had been carefully selected for this mission, not just for her expertise, but for her physical capabilities. On Earth, she had been a competitive weightlifter before joining the diplomatic security service. As Kowalski approached the vehicle, the Dominary audience fell silent, clearly expecting an embarrassing failure. Supreme Commander Craxus stood with his arms crossed, a smug expression on his alien features. "Is she really going to attempt this?" whispered High Counselor Faxon to Maya. "Your officer will injure herself. Perhaps we should select something more appropriate." "Lieutenant Kowalski knows her capabilities," Maya assured him. "And now, so will the Dominary." Kowalski positioned herself at the front of the transport vehicle, assessing its weight distribution. In Earth gravity, lifting 2,000 kilograms would be impossible for any human without mechanical assistance. But here on Faxuria, with only 1/3 of Earth's gravitational pull, and with the additional physiological advantages of a body evolved under higher gravity, she braced herself, gripped the underside of the vehicle's front end, and with a powerful surge lifted. The front wheels of the transport rose from the ground. With careful steps and controlled breathing, Kowalski hoisted the front end higher until it was nearly at chest level. The amphitheater fell completely silent. Even Supreme Commander Craxus stood speechless, his previous smugness replaced with shock. Kowalski held the position for several seconds before carefully lowering the vehicle back to the ground. She stepped back, gave a respectful nod toward the Grand Matriarch's viewing box, and returned to the human delegation. "Impossible," Craxus muttered, loud enough for the translator to pick up. "No being of that size could possess such strength." The Grand Matriarch leaned forward in her enormous throne, studying the humans with new interest. "Explain this phenomenon, Captain Chen." Maya stepped forward. "Your Eminence, humans evolved on a world with gravity 3 times stronger than Faxuria's. Our bodies developed under constant resistance. Every step, every movement required greater force. When we come to your beautiful world, we bring that evolutionary heritage with us. What Lieutenant Kowalski demonstrated is the natural result of a high-gravity species operating in a lower gravitational field." Professor Lirax had rushed to the edge of the viewing platform, his scientific curiosity clearly ignited. "Fascinating. The muscle density required for such feats. Your species must have incredibly efficient energy metabolism systems." High Counselor Thaxon looked between the humans and Supreme Commander Craxus, whose mandibles were twitching in what the translator suggested was agitation. "A parlor trick," Craxus finally declared. "Lifting the front end of a single transport proves nothing about combat capability or technological advancement." "Perhaps not," Maya conceded diplomatically. "But it does demonstrate that appearances can be deceiving. Humanity may be smaller in stature than the Dominary, but we are not to be underestimated." The Grand Matriarch made a sound that the translator interpreted as thoughtful contemplation. "Indeed, Captain Chen, it seems we have much to reconsider about your species." She turned her enormous head toward Supreme Commander Craxus. "Perhaps the military exhibition should continue with a more balanced perspective." Craxus's posture stiffened, but he bowed in acknowledgement of the command. "As you wish, Your Eminence." As the exhibition resumed, Maya noticed a subtle shift in the Dominary spectators' behavior. Where before they had regarded the humans with amused curiosity, now they watched with careful attention and what appeared to be newfound respect. "Well played," Commander Jackson murmured to Maya. "Though I suspect we've made an enemy of the Supreme Commander." "We didn't come here to make friends with militarists," Maya replied quietly. "We came to establish mutual respect as the foundation for cooperation." High Counselor Thaxon approached their viewing platform, lowering himself to speak more directly to the humans. "And educational demonstration, Captain. I believe many perspectives have been adjusted today. He glanced toward where Craxus was overseeing the next military display. Though not all will welcome such adjustments. Change is rarely comfortable, Counselor, Maya acknowledged, but often necessary for growth. Faxon's expression seemed to indicate agreement. The Grand Matriarch has requested a private audience with your delegation following the exhibition. This is unprecedented. As Thaxon departed, Dr. Alphase moved closer to Maya. Captain, this demonstration has accelerated matters considerably. The Dominari are now facing a fundamental challenge to their worldview. They believe size equated to strength throughout the galaxy. And now they must reevaluate everything they thought they knew about interspecies dynamics. His expression grew concerned. Some will embrace this new understanding. Others will see it as a threat to their established order. Maya nodded, watching as Supreme Commander Craxus directed his troops with more aggressive gestures than before. Keep an eye on Craxus and his supporters. I suspect they won't accept this new reality without resistance. Across the arena, Professor Lyrax was engaged in animated conversation with several other Dominari scientists, occasionally pointing toward the humans with evident excitement. At least some factions were reacting positively to the revelation of human capabilities. As the exhibition continued, Maya noticed subtle changes in the military demonstrations. Where earlier displays had emphasized overwhelming force and intimidation, the presentations now shifted toward precision and tactical applications. It seemed the Dominari military was rapidly adjusting its assessment of what might impress their human guests. They're adapting quickly, Commander Jackson observed. Intelligent response. Maya agreed. They're showing us they have more than just brute force. They want us to know they can be subtle as well as powerful. The real question was whether this new respect would translate into genuine cooperation or merely a more sophisticated approach to competition. Either way, the dynamics had shifted dramatically. No longer would the Dominari dismiss humans as merely cute curiosities. As the exhibition drew to a close, Maya caught Supreme Commander Craxus watching her with an intensity that suggested calculation rather than mere hostility. He was reassessing, recalibrating his approach based on new information. The game had changed. The stakes had been raised. And somewhere in the shadows of the Dominari capital, those who opposed alliance with humanity were undoubtedly revising their plans. Maya prepared herself for the private audience with the Grand Matriarch, knowing that the real challenges were just beginning. They had earned the Dominari's attention, perhaps even their respect. Now came the harder part, turning that into a lasting alliance that would benefit both species. Captain, Lieutenant Kowalski said as they prepared to leave the amphitheater, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures near our shuttle. It could be nothing but